Om, Sema. Today's sharing is about intuition and surrender. Om Mani Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om, Padme Om, Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om, Padme Om, Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om, Padme Om, Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om. Om. So we're all gifted with intuition, part of our human design, part of our original blueprint. Isn't that just a miracle in and of itself? You know? To have this intuitive capacity, sense, sixth sense. I don't know, there are probably more, 7, 8, 9 million senses. So in a way, like everyone's psychic, you know? What is, you know, like, oh, I think this is gonna happen. It's very close to intuition. So everyone has a capacity to be psychic. We all have psychic capabilities. Oh, I think my mom's gonna call, and she calls, you know? Or how did you know to leave at that moment? You know, it's, oh, it just intuitively left. So we all have this and we're all operating with it, whether it's to a small degree or some try to live their whole life by that. So let's work along that continuum of starting at conditioned intuition and moving towards complete surrender and spontaneity. And as intuition is the bridge that brings you from a more dense expression to a much lighter expression. So when we have conditioned intuition, it's that same feeling, like that intuitive spark, that intuitive inspiration, that light feeling of intuition. But it's surrounded by or supported by or originated by something that is not intuitive, but is based on a prior memory. So let's say, oh, I just intuitively went out and got like a double pizza from Domino's. Yeah, it's possible. It's also possible that you're just feeding your impulses, and it wasn't intuition at all. It just is your addiction to Domino's pizza, cleverly with the trappings of intuition, and you think, oh yeah, it's intuitive, and you go get the double pizza with double cheese. So that would be an example of conditioned intuition. And then there's like non-conditioned intuition, which very often goes against what our rational mind and analysis might be calling for. The voices in my head. So let's say there's the intuitive voice and there's this conditioned analysis, weighing all the probabilities and cataloging memories and calling them up and doing that thing. And then there's the other aspect, which is the intuitive, joyous, loving, expressive, fun part, which is light and guiding and fun. But this aspect here, the ego mind, is like the stern father. No, that won't work, or always doubting and criticizing and ignoring. And that's how it goes, right? That's how it goes between the ego mind and the intuition. And then we start conditioning our intuition and trying to use the analysis, the ego mind, to marry it with the intuitive vibration to make some sense out of this. But intuition doesn't have to make any sense, that's the point. So when you get something that's an intuition and it doesn't make any sense and it's counter to your rational, quote unquote, rational mind's advice, that's the one you want to follow. That's my experience. The more triggering it is for you, the more likely it's your intuition. If it seems like not triggering at all and it's great, like then it could just be your desire. You know, was it intuitive that you went to the ecstatic dance, or you just like to go dancing and you're there almost every week? So, you know, was it really intuitive? But an intuitive call to do something that you have a lot of resistance to do, and a repeated intuitive call, that's really worth acting upon. So you can see that the way we engage our God-given gift of intuition can be charted along a trajectory or an arc. So we go from this conditioned intuition, and then we see the conditioning that holds the intuition back, and we start to see that the intuition is more fun, more joyous, more correct than the analytical mind. So we start to pay more attention to the intuition than we do the analytical mind. And that's where the magic really starts to happen, of course. It's at that moment, right? So we start seeing that the ego mind, the intellect, how really wrong it is most of the time. How it's constantly jabbering, how it's weighing in on everything, how it's thinks it knows it all, it's judgmental, it's ignorant, basically. And we can see with our awareness, or let's say all that we are, and we can see like, wow, if I pay more attention to the intuition, the unconditioned intuition, and less attention to this annoying character. But, you know, it's still probably useful to keep them around, but I'm not going to like be a slave to that. Wow. So you go more towards intuition again, because you see the results. Like the rational mind even has to acknowledge the empirical results you're achieving by following your intuition and not his advice. Even he has to say, wow, there's a lot of miracles going on. The probabilities of something like that happening are like zero, and the probability of it keep on happening are even more zero. This is a miracle. That's what your analytical intellect starts to say, because it weighs evidence. It does probabilities. It sees, it understands. It's good like that. So it becomes a aid. Instead of before, it was dominating, so it was suppressing your intuition, right? And now it sees the glory and the magic of the intuition, and it's like, let it roll. I'll just try to, you know, keep up and keep doing what you're doing. You know, really, that's what my intellect mind says now. So then later in the journey, we get to a point of surrender. So we see that intuition is like the bridge to get to surrender. So, you know, surrender is the way we've been, the way most people approach it. It's like a willful act of surrender. You know, I surrender, or yeah, like, oh, I give up, or surrender like that. But surrender in this school of yoga, or in yogic terminology, it's more sahaja. Sahaja samadhi means there's no conditioned intellect stopping the expression of the divine through you, and you're observing. You're the loving observer of that grace that is you moving. And how to get from unconditioned, intuitive magic to surrender, the next phase of the journey. Well, you can start to see that some things are intuitive and you still wait and don't act on them. So I'll give you an example. I go hiking here in Bali to Mount Batur, and it's sunrise on top of this volcano. And the minute the sun starts, like the vibration of the sun, not even seeing the sun yet, just maybe a couple of rays have come over the mountaintops, I start feeling so much Kundalini energy, so much Shakti, so much joy and love. I just have to run. And I'm like, okay, I gotta run. I had a guide with me, and I was like, just keep up, just tell me where to go, like shout. There's the way, go right, go left. I was like, great. So I start running, and I had I had Vibram 5 fingers on. And if you don't know about those, shoes, which are really malleable, and they're really hard on the calves and the ankles, especially going downhill at high speeds, potentially the knees, everything. But that's the analytical mind, and the body just was running. So it wasn't my intuition to run, the body just started running. And I was the loving observer, the joyous loving observer, the astonished loving observer of the body's running. And this continued for about an hour down the mountain, running, walking, just so amazing to just, wow. So that was a sahaja samadhi experience. That's what it's like. It's like you're just the loving observer of the body's grace. So what can't be said better than that? So intuition is the bridge to get you from asleep, basically, to sahaja samadhi. Is you keep on tuning into your intuition again and again and again and again. See the results. Let your analytical side see the results. Be empirical as you want, and you will start to see that the magic and the joy and the love, the synchronicities that are so deep and vast, are all part of the gift of the intuitive path. And then when you're on the intuitive path long enough, you start to see, I'm not even going to follow the intuition, I'm just going to wait for spontaneity. And that's how you begin to move into the next phase, which is the stage of surrender. Om Jema, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Thanks for watching.